All right, let's dive into one of the most important, but maybe least understood, parts of India's democracy, the Finance Commission. Think of it as the engine room of the country's finances. And its story? Well, it's a 75-year-long balancing act between the central government and all the states. To really get what the Finance Commission is all about, we have to start with a really simple question. In a huge, diverse country like India, how do you even manage the national wallet? Who collects the money and who gets to spend it? And the answer to that question? Well, it reveals a pretty fundamental challenge, a kind of structural imbalance that's baked right into India's federal system. It's a classic mismatch between who's earning the money and who has to do the spending. So here's the core of the problem. The central government, it's really good at collecting the big taxes, like income tax and corporate tax. But it's the state governments that are on the ground, the ones responsible for most of the public services we rely on, things like health and education. This creates what people call a vertical fiscal imbalance. It's a fancy way of saying there's a mismatch between who gets the money and who needs to spend it. Now, this wasn't some kind of surprise. The founders of the nation, they knew this would be a constant point of tension. So the big question for them was, how do you solve this mismatch in a way that's fair, consistent, and, most importantly, impartial? And their solution was, honestly, pretty brilliant. They created the Finance Commission. They didn't just pass a law, they wrote this body right into the Constitution itself under Article 280. This makes it a permanent, recurring feature of how India is governed, specifically designed to act as a neutral umpire. And this shows you that the commission was right at the center of the debate about how to build a unified country. As all the historic princely states were being brought together, it was super clear that they needed an impartial way to manage the finances of this new union. And you can hear this in the words of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar himself. In the Constituent Assembly debates, he argued so passionately against leaving this decision purely to politics. He warned that if Parliament alone made the call, states with more MPs could just dominate the whole process, and that would totally undermine fairness for the smaller or less represented states. The Finance Commission was the answer to make sure there was justice for everyone. So we've got this impartial umpire. But how does it actually work? How does the commission decide who gets what from all the taxes the country collects? The whole process really boils down to two big steps. You can think of it like sharing a pie. First is vertical devolution. That's deciding how big a slice of the total tax pie the central government is going to share with all the states put together. The second step, and this is the one that gets more contentious, is horizontal devolution. That's deciding how to divide that slice among each of the individual states. Let's actually see how this worked in practice, right from the very start. The first ever Finance Commission was set up in 1951, just after the Constitution was adopted, and it was led by K.C. Niyogi. And what's really interesting is how simple the first commission's formula was. To share the income tax revenue, it gave 80% weight to a state's population and 20% to how much tax was actually collected in that state. For other taxes, it was just 100% based on population. This really simple framework was the starting point for a formula that would get way, way more complex over the years. This quote here from Pandit Kunzur, wow, it just perfectly captures the soul of the whole thing. The very idea of a federation, of national solidarity, means that the wealthier parts of the country have to contribute to help support the development of the poorer parts. It's a principle of fairness that has guided every single commission since. But of course, that simple formula from 1951, it wasn't going to last forever. As India's economy grew and changed, the commission's approach had to evolve right along with it. And this timeline really shows you that evolution in action. You can see how, over the years, new layers were added to that formula. The Fourth Commission introduced economic backwardness. The 12th started linking grants to how fiscally disciplined a state was. And the most recent commission? It had to figure out the massive shift that came with the Goods and Services Tax, or GST. So, from Shri K.C. Niyogi back in 1951 all the way to Shri N.K. Singh in 2020, 15 different commissions have guided this whole process. Each one faced a totally unique set of challenges, reflecting the economy of their time, but they all worked inside that same constitutional framework of fairness and balance. So when we look back at this incredible 75-year journey, what's the ultimate legacy of the Finance Commission? What has it really achieved? At the end of the day, it's been that impartial umpire. In a relationship that could so easily be filled with politics and friction, the Commission has given us a credible, evidence-based way to resolve disputes and keep the country's finances stable. So when you put it all together, balancing the books, making things fair for everyone, adapting to change, and, most importantly, staying credible as a non-political body, that's how the Commission has built this incredible legacy of trust. It's a huge reason why India's really complex federal system has held together for so long. The legacy of the first 15 commissions is pretty remarkable, a real story of adaptation. But their main job, that core mission, it stays the same. As India faces brand new challenges like climate change and the digital revolution, future commissions are going to have to redefine what financial fairness even means for a new generation. The Great Balancing Act, it continues.